Even though after playing the Battlefield 5 open beta, it seems like this game still isn't getting enough hype. And personally, I just can't help to think that it's way more issues than just the fact that there's women in a World War II shooter. It has to be more than just that that's making people not want to pre-purchase this game. Battlefield 1 was released on October 16th of 2016. So we are literally less than 1 month away from their 2-year anniversary of Battlefield 1. And this is not Call of Duty where they will be producing a game every single year for us to play. So it's not like they can just randomly switch up the time period whenever they feel like it. This is Battlefield, so the games will be coming out in about a 2-year span. So whatever they decide to put out, we are going to have to deal with for at least 2 years to come. So I just can't help to think, would Battlefield be better off if they went with a modern era video game this year instead of going to World War II? I think the main issue for a lot of core Battlefield fans who actually play Battlefield on a day-to-day basis is the fact that they were stuck with a World War I shooter for 2 years. There was nothing wrong with that. I enjoyed Battlefield 1. I thought it was a great game, had a lot of fun moments inside of it, and the gameplay was pretty solid. So it's not a bad fact that we were stuck. I probably shouldn't even said stuck with World War I shooter. Just the fact that we already spent 2 years with a World War I shooter, and then we're still pretty much sticking in the past, going to a World War shooter right afterwards. Now, I know there's a lot of diehard Battlefield fans out there who will probably tell me that there's nothing wrong with it being a World War II game right after World War I. And I agree, I will still pretty much play this game on a day-to-day basis if I'm juggling it on and off with Call of Duty Black Ops 4. And there's not really too much wrong with the gameplay. The gameplay is nice and fun, and it keeps me interested in the combat. But I just want to bring this up again, and I know a lot of people who watch my channel probably are sick of the same thing that I continuously say, but I always want to bring up Call of Duty because they are a prime example, and I don't think there is any other better examples for this. I understand that the marketplace for FPS games have been pretty much oversaturated with modern day shooters. But it is just never a good idea to just put 2 similar games back to back. Like I said, take Call of Duty for an example. They stuck with the same formula for 3 years straight. They didn't even think to change it up. They just stuck with the jetpacks and the futuristic theme and just put a 3-year plan out for it. Now you're probably wondering what happened when they finally made this plan. Well, the Call of Duty community did not really enjoy this too much. They weren't too happy having to be stuck with jetpacks in this futuristic theme for 3 total years. They didn't even consider switching it up until they got to Infinite Warfare, where they remastered Modern Warfare. But I mean, even a remastered game isn't good enough. We wanted a fresh taste, a fresh feel to the Call of Duty game. And the same exact thing is pretty much happening for the Battlefield series. We were pretty much playing World War I for 2 years straight. Now we're moving on to World War II for 2 years straight. And let's be honest with each other. World War I and World War II, from the time between both of those, not too much has changed. Yes, we have different weapons, we have different types of tanks and planes and such, but the technology is still pretty much the same as one and the other. It's not really too much of a difference between both wars compared to if you're going to go from World War I to a modern day shooter, or even a futuristic shooter, or even go from World War I to a Vietnam War. It's a huge jump from those, but if you just go from World War I to World War II, there's not too much difference. It's pretty much almost reskinning the game. And I think the next most popular Battlefield game that everybody's talking about is a modern day shooter. I think that's what almost the majority of the Battlefield group wanted from EA DICE. It's already been 2 years since we had a modern day experience from Battlefield, and now they're going to top it off with 4 years now that we have to wait for a modern day experience, leaving us with Battlefield 4 being the closest and most modern day game that we could possibly play from a Battlefield series at the moment, but it's still not the most populated. So I think a lot of people were really putting their hopes up that they were going to make a brand new modern day game that was going to be populated enough and still have enough players to, you know, at least get into a match and have some fun. But personally, if they made a modern day game, I don't think they would have been running into as many issues that they're running into with Battlefield 5 at the moment. I think a lot of the issues that they're running into with this game is just the fact that it's a World War II shooter right after World War I. In modern day games, there's just so much to look forward to. Having a huge arsenal of weapons, since it is modern day, and there's plenty of modern day weapons to go around, plus weapons that aren't even in actual warfare yet, but I mean it's a video game, so of course they can actually put those in the game itself. Having a massive variety of equipment and gadgets to play with. It is modern day, so it's a lot of futuristic and cool tech that you can mess around with. And then, of course, the vehicles. For Christ's sake, when it comes to modern day games compared to the past, there are plenty of vehicles to mess around with. Whether it's just carrying vehicles to transport troops, tanks, ATVs, you got helicopters, jets, planes, AC-130s. It's just plenty of variety when it comes to vehicle, which is a lot more fun. Now try to compare all of that with a World War II shooter. It's really harsh, and it's not like it's Call of Duty. I think Call of Duty can pull off World War II shooters very easily just because of the playstyle. But Battlefield is known for its large fights, the large, more realistic warfare that you're putting yourself into. So when you think of large-scale warfare, you definitely need the attachments, you need the vehicles, the gear and equipment. There's a lot of things and factors that you need to make that work compared to a Call of Duty game, which is much more arcadey. And honestly, all you need in that game is a red dot, grip, and a quick draw. That's pretty much all you need on your weapon in that game. There's not really too much more, I guess you could say, realistic warfare tactics when it comes to Call of Duty. It's just a run and gun style game. Battlefield almost relies on having all of these other features between, the wide variety of equipment, attachments, and weapons, also vehicles as well, just to add a nice factor into the large scale warfare. So when you take the game to a blast to the past, you're really risking it for the biscuit when it comes to this type of game. And trust me, there's nothing wrong with past war games. I love them. Honestly, World War II shooters are probably my favorite shooters of all time. I enjoy them the most. I just love the scenery. I love how the maps are. And just the actual war story itself. It's great. I love it. But there is a time and place for everything. And personally, I think after making a World War I shooter, they should have definitely, at least, went back to a modern day shooter. Either modern day or futuristic. They just needed something else to spice up the genre. They didn't need another past game with pretty much, it literally does look like a reskin. If you play Battlefield 5 on the beta, it almost practically feels the same. Unless you want to, consider them changing the time to kill and such like that. But other than that, it's practically a reskin when it comes to visuals. I'm not too sure if I'm the only one who wants this, or if I'm the only one who really feels like a modern day shooter would be better for Battlefield this year. But I just strongly miss a Battlefield 4 feel. Battlefield 4 was such a great game, and even though it didn't start off too good, it ended great with plenty of weapons, a lot of attachments and equipment, and just the vehicles were just out of this world. It just had so much variety and just so much content added into it that it just made it such a great game. And honestly, by the end of it, and still to this day, I think people still haven't unlocked all the weapons in that game. That's how many guns they have in Battlefield 4. And I'm just going to throw this into the video because I know people will probably want to hear this anyways. But if it was modern day, it would be a lot easier for them to push their women agenda for the game. There are a lot, and I mean a lot of people out there who despise the fact that they're stuffing women into a World War II shooter. And I can't blame them, even though it doesn't really affect me too much. I mostly play Battlefield just for the gameplay itself. The realism, it doesn't really bother me too much, but there are a lot of people, and that's pretty much what makes up the Battlefield fan base, is a lot of people who enjoy the more realistic aspect of the game, compared to, the cartoonish arcadey feel of Call of Duty. They prefer the more realism of a Battlefield game. So having women in a mostly man-dominated war kind of throws off the feel for them. And it's not like, it's only a few women scattered around the battlefield. I mean, if you pick the scout, you are a woman. So so more than half the lobby is almost women. So it's like women versus men. It's very weird for a lot of people in the World War II shooter. So if it was modern day, it could be a lot more believable because there are a lot of women in the armed forces right now. So it would be a lot more believable and a lot more easier to push this whole agenda that they have going on here. Honestly, every problem that they're having with Battlefield 5 would have been resolved if they just made it modern day. In my personal opinion, every single thing that people are complaining about with this would have been completely scrapped, it would be no issues, and this game would have probably really succeeded if they stuck with the modern day scenery, but only time can tell, guys. We are going to have to see and just pretty much wait until the official release of Battlefield 5 happens, and then we can see if this game will actually sell or not. But leave your opinions down below. I'm always curious to see what you guys think. Do you think modern day would have been a much better option for EA DICE to go with, or do you think World War II is just perfectly fine right now? Also, don't forget to leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and if you hated the video, of course, make sure you dislike it. Everybody has their own opinion and is obligated to be able to express their own opinion as well. And if you just enjoy the content altogether, make sure you subscribe to the channel and smack that bell button to be notified on all of my recent videos. And of course, if you don't want to do that, you can follow my Twitter account as well, at J1Man. You can always chat with me on there. Thank you all for tuning in to yet another video, and of course, I'll see you all in the next one. Peace out.